Oh, okay. Well, how much do you get off of that? No, all of our authors keep 100% of the royalties. She's like, I never heard of this. Like, what? I've never seen a publishing company representing their authors at a live book event. Like, what are you doing?
All right, so we are on Colin's Conversations. Normally, the guest would introduce themselves, but the guest has been on the show before. We have JL Raynor. He's going to be talking about his new venture, 105 Publishing, and we're going to try to get as much author content out of this next 45 minutes to hour that we can. Jason, what's going on, buddy?
How you doing? How you doing? Everything is fantastic.
And it only took us like 15 minutes. Jason is not keen on technology. Technology hates.
No, not
And
at all.
full disclosure, the reason I know this is Jason is a client of Colin Can Help. We've helped put together websites and a whole bunch of other things for 105, but this isn't sponsored by 105. So feel free to look at their website. I made it. So sometimes it works. So I think it's doing pretty well for you. What's it been like starting 105 in the last year?
Oh man. Well, first of all, I'm gonna have to start with you. Not only thank you for having me on the show again, but also thank you for what you've done for 105. My very first step prior to starting the LLC, through the LLC office and all that, was to then create a website. And so I came to you right away after dealing with you as an author, and you put a amazing website together. Literally 99% of people love the website. I think I told you about the one person who said it looks like I'm trying to look too much like Gucci on the website. That was a very interesting critique. But other than that, everyone has loved the website. So I just want to thank you for really being a huge part of getting it all started. But it's been a blessing. It's truly been a calling I didn't know was a calling. I've had the opportunity to quit my job and just completely work for myself, 105, and bringing authors' books to life has been really rewarding. And it's honestly, it's just been fantastic.
Absolutely. And let's run it all the way back. 105 Publishing is the name. I know where the name started, but let everybody know kind of what was the origin? Why'd you name your company 105 Publishing?
So I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. I grew up on 105th Street in Brooklyn. And so it was only right that I kept my roots in the name of my company. So that had to call 105. I grew up on the 105 in Flatlands. I thought about Flatlands Publishing, but I was like, that just doesn't even sound catchy at all. So I went with 105.
Yeah, if you're going to go Flatlands, I'd say like FL Publishing or something, but I like 105. And the logo is kind of reminiscent of a street sign of, you got the green, the same type of font that you'd see. And Brooklyn, man, but you've recently made the move down to Austin. What can you tell us the differences of life in Brooklyn and life in Austin?
Well, let me add a state in there. Lived in Toledo, in the middle of those two, Toledo, Ohio. And so the transition from New York to Ohio to Austin, it's almost like Austin, believe it or not, is a great combination of New York City's big city, and Ohio's way more friendly than New York.
Gotcha.
It's we just found out the other day that they are building 40 more skyscrapers in Austin, which is just bananas because I'm not sure where they're going to fit all of them. Allegedly, they're building 40 more. And so Austin, I kid you not, give it the next decade, it's going to be a city I mean, it's going to be one of the largest cities. Only 50,000 people away from a million. So it's like Austin is just booming. It's very accepting. It's surprisingly liberal for it to be in Texas. I do not know how Texas allows Austin to exist, honestly, because it's extremely diverse and just accepting of all people, religions. These are the most hippies I've seen in my life. I will say that. I can't say, if you go to certain parts of New York City, you will see your hipsters and stuff like that. But here it's like capital. Like it's interesting. It's just a very different vibe.
Excellent. And what made it the right move to go to 105? I mean, go all the way down to Austin.
Austin, I had visited one time and I said, I really like this city. It had enough slowness and enough speed for me to really fall in love with. Toledo was just a bit slow for me. And I think had I lived in a Cleveland or a Cincinnati, I probably would have a different opinion about Ohio, but I just had to get the heck out of Toledo. And so Austin just felt like that right place to be. So it's been a great move and I don't regret it at all.
Absolutely. Nobody wants to live in Toledo. Toledo, like other than on like MASH, where the one dude was from Toledo gave Toledo a lot of praises. That like there's no reason to go to Toledo unless you have to like stop on your way to Detroit or something, and you just have to. Like,
exactly.
There's a couple good restaurants and things, but I would never want to live there. So tell me a little bit more about the process of 105. I believe it got started because of somebody who was trying to get over on you as an author, and it kind of inspired you. But kind of what made it into a company, and kind of what's bringing customers there?
So what I love about the question with that is when you and I first met, this was around the time when I started to realize that my publisher were potentially crooks. So at that time, there were sales that I knew that I made that they were telling me, well, we're not getting any documentation that you're making these sales. But I had physical people to show with my book in their hands that, yeah, I bought this from Amazon. So after attempting to, we're weird as human beings. Like sometimes when we know something is wrong, either we try to ignore it or hope that we're completely wrong. And so I ignored it for months and months that like, okay, maybe they'll pay me next quarter, or maybe they'll pay me next month, and eventually I said, okay, where's my money? and so believe it or not, till today, I still haven't gotten paid anything in royalties. And it took me a solid 2.5 months just to get out of the contract, because you had to contact the representative from their publishing company in order to get out of the contract. And so when they saw my emails, they would say things like, oh, I thought we sent it to you already. We'll send it just in a second. Another 2 weeks go by. Oh, we'll send it to you here in a second. Right. So I had to keep on harassing. Essentially, I sounded like one of the bill collectors back in the day when they used to call and harass people. And finally, I got out of the contract. So once I got out of the contract, someone had recommended to me that, you should probably just start your own publishing company so that you could publish your books from now on, because this first book is not going to be your only one. And so after starting the company, I got to thinking, this was January of 2020, I got to thinking, maybe I should make this bigger than just publishing my own books, because I actually understand the process from beginning to end of how to publish your book, whether it's self-publishing or traditional. I understand both sides. So why not use this company to help other people bring their books to life without a catch? And I also learned from that publishing company, who I'm not going to name, out of the Atlanta, Georgia area, who screwed me over. I actually learned from them, because had that not happened to me, honestly, I don't think I would be as effective as I have been, right?
Gotcha.
As far as putting the team together, as far as how Patricia and Byron are helpful, and how we have our illustrators and our marketing people and our book cover design. I wouldn't really know how to organize that in a way that is like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like I had to go through the nonsense in order to build the company that I have today. So it's although it was a frustrating time dealing with that, and it is frustrating thinking to myself, they still haven't paid me any royalties, it was beneficial in the long run.
Gotcha. And you mentioned self-published versus traditional. 105, you're kind of like the intermediary of both of those two, right? You can do all the publishing, or if you just need pieces, parts, and still want to self-publish, people go to you as well, right?
Yeah. People, I actually had one author recently who actually said, I've actually never met a company like you, because Either you have the traditional publishers where they look at your manuscript, they believe in you, they take you on, and then they get a large majority of your royalties when they sell your books. Or you have a self-publisher where we're just going to help you bring your book to life, and then good luck. So we did a mixture of, this is your book, you get 100% of your royalties, and we are still going to help you after we publish your book. So when we were in Philadelphia, there was a lady who came up and said, "Oh, wow, these are all your books?" I'm like, no, these are our authors' books. And she said, "Okay, so we're the authors." I'm like, "Well, no, we're the publishing company. We are representing our authors and selling their books." "Oh, okay. Well, how much do you get off of that?" No, all of our authors keep 100% of royalties. She's like, "I never heard of this." Like, what? I've never seen a publishing company representing their authors at a live book event. Like, what are you doing? So honestly, we've created something that's not normal.
Gotcha. And one of the questions that are often asked onto the internet about publishing are publishing costs. What are a couple hidden costs of publishing that a lot of people might not be thinking of if they're out there writing their manuscripts?
So a couple things you want to consider. You do want to, and I always tell people this, I'll use Amazon as an example. You can get a free ISBN through Amazon, right? You don't have to pay for one. But the problem with that is that if you get a free ISBN through Amazon, that ISBN can only ever be used on Amazon. When you purchase your own ISBN, that goes with you. That goes with your book and with you to any other site you bring your book to, Apple Books, Barnes & Noble, whatever it is. That ISBN comes with you. So that's an expense you definitely want to consider. Another expense that you definitely want to consider is your official US copyright. Now, some people like to add the copyrights page without paying for their actual official copyright certificate. And the best way I can describe that is like having the ADT sign in the yard, but not having ADT in your home, okay? So chances are someone is not going to take your entire manuscript and say, "This is my book." However, if they do, it is good to have that backing, because then you do have that official certificate saying, "Hey, this is my work and you should not be using it without my permission." Those are two of the big things I think people, self-published authors, don't realize that they really shouldn't skip. Not so much with anything hidden, but another misconception is, and I've seen this before in Facebook groups, "Oh, I edited my own manuscript, so I don't need to pay an editor, I'm good to go." Your number one fan is generally always you. I remember when I wrote my manuscript and I gave it to my editor and she sent it back, and I joked with her saying, "You had to have added these sentences because I do not write that terrible." Right? Because when you read your own work over and over and over and over again, there are things that get blended in, right? So if you're going to spend money on anything, right, you can teach yourself how to do a book cover design. You can teach yourself how to illustrate a book. You can teach yourself many other things, but the one thing you can't teach yourself is how to be perfect. So all self-published authors, please get yourself an editor, because if you don't, your readers will be able to tell.
Yeah, I have an ADT sign and I don't have ADT. I was doing a yard job the other day, and there's an ADT company put in this big security system across the street. And the yard I was doing a mulch job at had a broken, old, fucked up sign. And I was like, "Oh, look, you guys were over here a few years ago, it looks like." He's like, "Yeah, you want a new sign?" I was like, "Yeah," and he gave me two. I was like, "We'll put one up in my house too."
Now look at that. I'm talking about you.
But I mean, it's the same as you said. Like I do a lot of writing and I do a lot of paid writing, and where you kind of said the same thing of, in your head, you know what you meant. So the same way, like you see all those memes where a couple words are out of place and it says, "Go back and read the second word." And you go, "Oh," I just filled that in. Like, you know what you're trying to say. So when you're reading it, that would happen. Having more eyes look at it, or not, even if you don't want to pay an editor, to find a couple people that are doing beta reading or stuff like that could be a real beneficial way just to get feedback, or because, you know, maybe chapter 2 you thought was good, but in reality, it doesn't really mean anything to anybody.
Correct. Absolutely.
And you guys are doing a lot of children's books. It sounds like you're open to all genres, all stories, everything, right?
Yes, absolutely. We do, believe it or not, and I also had to call an author out on this. I remember someone told me, oh, well, I mean, it doesn't matter what I wrote about, as long as I'm paying you, you're going to take me on, right? Nah. Time is way more valuable than money. And I always share this story because I just remember it so vividly. One of our editors, Megan, she had gotten a manuscript for a free consultation. So what we do is do a free consultation. We look over your first 2 chapters and we write a review based on any grammatical punctuation errors that we see, along with your overall flow as an author. And so she called me and she said, Jason, I don't know what the heck this guy is talking about. His story is not really that interesting, and I don't even understand what he's trying to get at. So I said, okay, well, say that professionally. So I read his review to him, and he like hates our guts, some guy in the UK somewhere. So I say that to say, yes, we do any genre, but we don't just deal with any type of writing. If that makes sense. So it has to be entertaining enough for us to bring it on. And
tell me about the publishing process with you guys. Somebody sees you presumably on the internet or however else you're advertising. They get a free consultation, you said, and tell us about the process. What's it like as an incoming author to 105?
So very first step, a lot of our authors, they fill out the publish your book form. Once we get that notification, we respond to their email right away. And then we say, hey, when's a good time for you to talk? In that first conversation, I want to get to know the author. I want to get to know not only about them, but about their book, and not just about their book, but what motivated them to write their book. Okay. After we talk about that, I'll say, okay, that does sound interesting. Or even if it's something that maybe I'm not personally into, right? Like, for example, we all like our genres, right? I'm not into fantasy. Like you really can't get me to to read a fantasy book. I'll be honest with you, you can't. And I edit books, but when it comes to fantasy, I have certain editors who prefer fantasy, so I make sure I send it to them. And so if it's something that I know for certain, there's an editor who would do well with this manuscript, I then say, okay, send us your first 2 chapters only in a separate Word doc or PDF, attach it to this form, and then we will take max 48 hours to get you back your review. So after that review, we then call them generally underneath the 48 hours, and we have that conversation with them, go over pricing. Pricing is definitely cheaper than your standard editors. I'll use editing as an example. Standard, many editors charge as much as 8-9 cents a word, and we are generally nowhere close to that. However, the way that we do it is based off of other manuscripts that we have done and how long that has taken us before. So we mainly focus on hourly, but we do compare it to a word count as well, right? So once we have all that listed for the authors, so we have the editing, formatting, book cover design, ISBN barcode, copyright, we add their book to the 105 bookshelf. We also take all of our authors' books to live events on a quarterly basis. Once we get all of that and we have our pricing, then we get started. With a children's book, we're talking max of 30 to 45 days to get a draft. And for your traditional novel or something like that, we're talking max of 45 to 60 days to get a draft. Now, we never take that long, but it's just the max number that we give. Once they get their manuscript back or their illustrations back, they then have the opportunity to look it over, and we give unlimited revisions. So there's some companies and there's some editors and illustrators who say you have 3 revisions, or I think the most I've seen was 5 revisions. After that, you guys start paying me. We do not do that at this current time. We want to make sure that our author absolutely loves the product that we're putting out for them. And so once that part is done, that's when we do things like assign the ISBN and barcode, get their Library of Congress number so that they can have their books in the libraries, and of course, do the official US copyright. Once that's done, we then upload it to primarily KDP Amazon. And we also have an account with Apple Books for our authors. And then our Barnes Noble account is about to get approved soon. And we'll also be doing Google Play Books as well. So we get our authors' books on as many sites as possible. And then from there, they are always a part of the 105 family. We will always represent them in some sort of way, whether it's in a post, whether it's at an event or an interview like this. They will always be part of the 105 family.
That there's a perfect segue into a segment that we do often on the show called name dropping. I don't think we did this in your original interview because I didn't really have any internet connections to all the stuff that you were doing. But yeah, the idea behind the segment is I'm going to say a name that's somewhere how you are tied to on the internet, and you're going to tell me who they are, how you know them, and any good stories about them or anything else that we should probably know about them. The first person on the name dropping with you is going to be, who is Sasha Blaine?
Sasha Blaine, her book is coming out about Professor Ping and him going to Mexico. And let me tell you something, that children's book has been one of our favorite books to work on. I learned, and this is always a great thing. I learned a lot from reading her book, and that educated me on Mexican culture, especially living in Texas and having stuff like Mexican restaurants and having neighbors who are Mexican. Like, it taught me a lot about the culture. So I am so happy I met Sasha, as she is such a fantastic person.
Let's see. You want a sneak peek at her website?
Yes.
Because Colin Can Help has recently done ProfessorPingBooks.com. It's still
okay.
It's about one or two revisions away from being complete.
Okay. All right.
You can see my screen now, I hope, right?
Yeah, sure. The font, I love it. I love it.
Explore with Professor Ping.
Wow. There he goes. Oh, this is fantastic.
And then over here on the side, we have a little fancy menu instead of doing that basic stuff up top, kind of similar how your website works.
Mm-hmm.
Get to know the real Professor Ping.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And then we got for the actual book, Professor Ping. It was pretty. I believe it's supposed to be. What age group is that supposed to be for? Do you know? It's younger, isn't it?
Yeah. She actually wants it to go as high. It actually can go into high school, honestly, because it is that in depth as far as the amount of information that you get. But primarily middle school is the preferred age range, 8, 9, 10. But yeah, that was such a good book. Honestly, and everybody should really check that book out. Very, very educational and detailed.
So yeah, that's your sneak peek of the day. Not quite finished yet, but it's coming together pretty well.
Yeah.
Let's see the next one. Who should we do? You have so many names that we could shout out because you guys do such a good job, like you said, kind of talking about people already. Let's go with you mentioned her earlier. What can you tell us about your business partner, Patricia?
Patricia has literally been my rock when it comes to literally everything with 105. Backstory about Patricia: her and I were actually coworkers, and I showed her what I did on the side with 105 Publishing, and she is a very, very educated woman. And so to have her come on the team initially as an editor, and then grow from there to where she's actually talking to authors and bringing them on, has truly been a blessing. I will say it was weird for me initially, and I don't know if this makes any sense. It was like my baby first walking away without holding my hand. Like, there are about 3 authors that she has worked with from beginning to end that I have actually never spoken to. And when you start a business, that's how it's supposed to go. I don't know if this is too much of a drastic example, but you know, Steve Jobs is not going to meet everyone who bought a who bought a MacBook, right? So eventually, it was gonna direct away from me meeting everybody because I'm so used to talking to all of our authors. But she has been an absolute blessing, and I couldn't do a lot of this without her.
Absolutely. Hopefully, since she is a two-time graduate of University of Toledo, hopefully she doesn't.
Yes.
Hopefully she doesn't hate our comment about nobody wants to be in Toledo for too long.
And she was born and raised in Toledo, so yeah, but she understands.
It happens. She should understand that comment better than anybody. Then
Right.
Let's go into the next one. We'll stick within the 105 family. Who is Byron Graves?
So Byron, I actually went to college with. He is the third owner of 105 Publishing. So there's this 3-way ownership with 105. And we were bouncers together at the club at Clazel in downtown Bowling Green. And so we threw people out together. And now we are in business together yet again. So Byron has been absolutely great. He primarily does his thing. He's actually the head manager at Chipotle in Bowling Green. So that's his primary function. And so with us, he's kind of like, hey, I believe in you. Keep it going. If you need help at all, just let me know. But Byron has been fantastic too. So I'm happy to have him on the team.
And I'm going to throw a wild card out here for you for the last one of name dropping. I'm going to let you pick the last one person within the 105 family, author or anybody else attached to him. Who else would you like to add in your name dropping?
So I want to shout out Andre Norrells and Lakeisha Norrells. I want to shout them out because I actually, Andre and I were coworkers, and he took a leap just like I took a leap. We both worked at the same toxic environment that was only going to keep us nothing but toxic. And so we understood that there was more to life than looking forward to $1.02 raise every year, right? And then working for the terrible people that we did work for. So I want to shout them out because when they saw that I had the publishing company, it motivated them to write a book. And their book is called Raising Hope, about their adoptive daughter named Hope. And their book was our first #1 new release seller out of the 3 that we've had thus far. So it was just very moving for me to know that they, not only because we were friends, but they gave us the opportunity of bringing their book to life and motivating them enough to write a story, which they weren't comfortable with doing initially. And it turned out, I mean, fantastic. So we'll be at the same event in Dallas in December. And I gotta thank them because it was, the friendship still goes on, and we'll just have more books come into life.
You mentioned bestseller, which is every publisher and author's dream. I guess not nearly as much for you than them if they keep 100% of the royalties. But when I've worked with authors for marketing, what an author thinks they should price a book at and what I think they should price a book at is never even close. As a publisher, as an author, what can you give people as advice for setting the price of a book, whether it's ebook, audiobook, or hard copy?
So I think that when it comes to pricing your book, a couple things to keep in mind is as a self-published author, you want to know what your competition is pricing at, right? And so I'll give you a prime example. I went to a book festival in Chicago, and this person was wondering why their children's book, which was about the same amount of pages as the children's books we've done, why it wasn't selling. And I overheard them. So I went to this particular table, and I read their book. I'm like, oh, it's an interesting concept. How much is your book? Oh, it's $40. When you have these other 15 tables selling their books at $10, you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Sometimes, and I get it. I get that he felt as though his book was worth $40. But my goodness, I think you can pick up a Harry Potter book cheaper than that, right? So the main thing you want to pay attention to is your expenses. So if you know, for example, that it costs $3.50 per book to print your book. In my mind, this is what I tell authors all the time: attempt to at least double your money, at least double your money. Okay. And so if you know that it's going to be $3.50 per book, or that's how much Amazon is taking out after they get their percentage, you want to make sure you try your hardest to double that. Or if you order books on bulk, right? Let's say you order 200 books and it costs you $3. Okay. You know, if you sell your book at $10, you're making that $7 come up, right? So I would say really pay attention to what your expenses are when it comes to pricing, because believe it or not, I actually have more authors who want to sell their book at $5.99, at $6.99. I'm like, I get where you're coming from, but once you do the math, you're making like 50 cents, right? So we want to be a little bit smart there. So definitely look at your competition, look at their pricing, and then that'll get you a better sense of, okay, wow, people will pay this much for the type of product I put out.
I totally get what you're saying and agree with it, and have my own theory as well. For a hard copy, I think your logic has to be different. But what I've recommended to so many authors, because you have to think of, I don't know the exact number, I want to say somewhere between 1,500 and $3,000 to publish a book and to do it properly, somewhere in that ballpark. So everybody thinking like they do it the $40 book. Fuck, dude, I put $3,000 into this project. I think it's great. I put my life into this. It's worth $50. Initially, I think every ebook should be $1. Why? You're going to make 60 cents, 45 cents, something like that after Amazon takes everything. Like you said, kind of sucks. But if you're just coming out the gate, you have no experience, you have no bestsellers, you have no real reputation. Why am I going to give you $12 for your book, $10 for an ebook? I don't have a tangible copy. I just have something that I have access to on my screen, my Kindle, what have you. But at $1 for your first 10 sales, $1.50 for your next 10 sales. Keep going up 50 cents or $1, whatever your increment is, once you get social proof, because those first 10 people, if you have 15 people that really care about you on social media, hey, I just published my book. It's only $1 for the first X amount of time. You get that call to action that makes it seem like this is a limited time deal. Great product right here, $1 right now. Get people to go, but tell them to leave a review. You know the power of reviews, the testimonials, the more good things people are saying. As me reading it, I want to see, well, what is it about this Professor Pig character? Why is he interesting? Oh, this guy here says he learned more about it in Mexico in this book than he did in 4 years of high school. So you start seeing things like that. Then once you get 5 reviews, 10 reviews, 20 reviews, whatever number it is, then that $10, $15, $20 mark for your book, it makes sense. Opposed to coming out the gate at $10, $20, whatever. Yeah, it'd be great to get a whole bunch of money selling them 10, 15 bucks a pop, but it's easier to sell 10 people at $1 than it is to sell one person on $10 until everybody's getting it. Then you're like, oh, I want to know about it.
Yeah. And you know, you make a lot of good points. We always tell people to make sure that they sell their ebook cheaper than their physical, of course. And so it's, you do want people to read your book, but you also want them to feel as though they're getting a good deal, right? And so, like, for example, when we sell our authors' books at events and things like that, generally the barcode, what's on the barcode is higher than what we're selling it for. And there's some psychology in there. I'm sure you've read that. You see it for $14.99, but so I'm saving $4.99 today if I buy it today, right? And so that's one of the things we do talk to our authors about is the psychology behind making sales. But it for the most part, we don't have an issue when I suggest a price to them of what they should probably price their book at. And what I find the most fascinating is, although we do not get any percentage of their sales, what has worked the most marketing wise, and you're the marketing person here, what has worked the most marketing wise is, wow, this is an amazing book. Who put this together? Right? So when they see the 105 publishing in about 3 different places throughout the book. And so I had looked up different strategies. You and I had talked about marketing stuff, and I had looked up some strategies. And honestly, the number one method that has been working the most has been referrals. When I tell my authors, hey, this person came to me because of you, so I'm gonna go ahead and pay you for this referral, that is like motivating. That's like extremely motivating. I think who does that? Does Cash App do that? They have a $5 or you get someone to sign up for Cash App, they give you like $5. They still do that?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So it's like
it's either $5 or $10 now. They kind of go back and forth.
$10? Oh my goodness! I'm about to. That sounds like a fortune. Now I'm joking. But
it's a harder sell than you think. Though everybody that wants it already has it.
Right. Well, and I was thinking more of like when they first started. Because I'm thinking about that point in time where you kind of heard about Cash App, but it wasn't boom.
Right.
But no, it is fascinating how much that particular strategy of marketing works, because then people feel inclined to say, hey, check out 105 Publishing. The post may say, hey, I'm looking for, this one made me really happy. I'm looking for a trustworthy publisher to help me self-publish my book and get me out there a little bit more. Do you all know of anybody? We had like 4 people say JL Raynor, 105 Publishing, JL Raynor, 105. Like it's truly, yeah. I mean, every single time I see it, I just smile.
Absolutely. I'm going to give you another sneak peek. This will probably get cut because this part's boring, but I got a new business card that I'm so excited. It should be showing up, I think, on Monday. But talking about those good referrals, no better way to get good referrals than to give out good marketing stuff.
Yeah.
So the idea here is working with me is like just like printing your own money, as you would know. But screen share. Get this out of my way. So the idea here, like you talked about that Cash App, how they have the cards.
Wow. Yeah.
This here that looks like the MasterCard logo, Master Marketer. This QR code is going to take you to my website. On the back here, completely, mimicked how a credit card would work, customer service line, all those things. And then where the signature is, what's this say down here? It's authorized to assist in marketing and content creation. Your little code 24/7 instead of a card number, phone number, boom, boom. I can't wait for these fucking things to come. And that it's going to be printed on plastic. It's not just going to be paper. It's coming as plastic. So you'll keep that in your wallet.
Wow. That's actually really dope.
It really is.
Did you see that somewhere before or?
Full disclosure, I was really high on my couch one night and I was looking at my credit card and I was like, you know what? I got an idea. And I sat there and I downloaded probably 10 or 12 different little templates and I couldn't make them work. And I told my wife, I was like, give me all of your credit cards right now. And she looks like, what? And I was like, I'm doing research, like have all my cards out of my wallet, looking at them, trying to see like what's the same on all of them, what's different. But again, that's where, and like you said, in order to sell your services, you put out good books. In order to sell my services, who has that advertising way? Currently, nobody. I'm looking forward to selling those to everybody, customized with your own, instead of marketing and content creation, publishing and editing, or whatever thing. But to have that uniqueness when somebody says, oh, yeah, do you have a card? Boom. You're not just going to throw that away if it's plastic. I'll keep this in my
Yeah.
wallet, you know.
Yeah. Hmm.
Looking forward to it. The same way that you have a new thing on its way out. Do we want to talk about Rec, or is it too
Yeah.
patent pending
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
controversial?
No, no, no. We could definitely talk about that.
What is Rec? Let everybody know.
Yeah. So REC stands for Raynor Effective Communications. And so the thought process came about when we helped our second incarcerated author bring their book to life. His fiance lives out in the Dayton, Ohio area. And so we helped both of them bring their book to life. And I thought to myself, man, it would be really, really amazing if many of those forgotten artists who are in our criminal justice system, if we could hear their voice like way more than we're used to, right? You'll have every now and then here and there, check out this author who's currently incarcerated, but not on a very large scale. Okay. And so after thinking about that, I then thought about, well, what else can we do? What other groups can we help bring their books to life? And so I thought about people who have dyslexia or even people who are blind. Like, how can we sit there and bring all three forms of publication to life? Then I looked up, okay, well, who can you use right now if you want to bring to life a print, ebook, and audiobook? And I couldn't find it. So REC is currently patent pending, and with REC, you'll be able, with just one submission, to bring all three forms of publication to life. That includes if you do not want to write your book, right? I've met people who say, I'm a better speaker than writer. Literally, you can speak your entire book using REC, and we will still come out with the print and ebook version for you, right? Of course, it's a very time consuming process, but it's something that we're dedicated to. And it's something that no one has ever done before or wanted to do before at all. And so we're looking at developing an app as well. For REC right now, REC is available on the website. You'll see the REC when you check on the different tabs you can click on. And so there's more information there, of course, that Colin put together. I'm telling you, like you didn't put together. But there's more information on there, and it is my next baby. It's all part of 105, but REC is I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I didn't really put it together. You put the idea together. I just kind of at least made the prototype for what's soon to come. And
Yeah.
I think it's I would you agree with me that audiobooks are kind of the way of the future?
Oh my goodness. Yes. 1 out of 5 Americans listen to audiobooks. I mean, you have people, I'll give you a prime example. Patricia, we were talking about her earlier. She prefers physical books. I prefer ebooks. And another author we just signed on only listens to audiobooks, right? So think about if you only came out with a print book. You have people like Patricia who are your audience, and you don't forgot about me and your other and the other author who I was speaking about. Let's say you only like ebooks and you come out with an ebook. You're attracting me, but what about the person who wants to physically hold your book or listen to you speak? And then you have the people who are just audiobooks, right? And unfortunately, a lot of authors don't come out with audiobooks. So if we just start from the get, let's come out with all three forms of publication. Don't be traditional. Let's focus on all three. Mm-hmm. You done handled all three categories of potential readers.
I think that kind of goes back to when we first talked on your first episode. Kind of that was the whole philosophy that I was trying to get through you of it with marketing. You know, you're like, how do I market my book? Well, you talk a little bit about it, you do a little bit of video about it, you do some text about it, just like you said, so that you hit whether it's a audio learner or you learn different ways. You like to be entertained different ways. So somebody that might not be interested in your book, I'd much rather listen to your book. I'd rather hear you put your own inflection into it. I hate when people don't read their own books, but if they don't, you have a bunch of narrators for that. Like, and I get why people don't. It's still weird to hear my voice 100 and some episodes into doing this, where you're like, do I sound like that? Wow, I was a dick to that guy. You know, like, so like you hear your voice and it's weird, but I think that you're onto something of taking away the barrier to entry of, I don't really know what to do. I don't want to sit there and write a book. Writing a book is the hardest thing. I've got 12 of them on my hard drive that are quarter finished or 10th finished, or
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I got this idea, but you're like, wow, writing a book takes a long time. Or if you could kind of
Yes.
do audio notes and refine those, then maybe put it together quicker. But recording an audiobook, what would be your top 3 pieces of advice for somebody that's going to be recording their first audiobook?
So number 1, please do not think that you have to buy a $200 and something microphone to get your audiobook going. That's number 1. Because a lot of people will rush and say, oh, let me just buy whatever the heck this website who's probably getting paid by this company, little do you know, to say that their microphone is the best, right?
ColinCanHelp.com.
And so that's number 1. Number 2, make sure that you find a quiet place in your home. And in my personal opinion, everyone has one. There's a lady who we're about to help bring her audiobook to life now. And she said, well, I live right by train tracks. That's fine. You're obviously not going to record while the train is coming, right? So take advantage, 1, of that spot you and I just found out exists in your home. And 2, make sure you don't continue to record when the train is coming, right? So find that quiet spot in your home. And number 3, please, please, please give it your all. When you are recording your audiobook, you have to make the reader really, really want to listen. I've heard audiobooks where I'm listening to the dude's voice, and I guess the whole audiobook played because I was sleeping after the first 5 minutes, right? Some people will just hire somebody, and kind of like how you were saying, I was going to touch on that too. Some people will hire somebody because they just want to hire a professional narrator, or they don't have the confidence to actually record their own book. Or the concept of, I have 5 characters and you're telling me I have to not only create a different voice for those 5 characters, but then I have to remember who talks like what when I'm recording. How am I going to remember that, right? Which is actually not that hard to do when you love your book. But we need to hear in your recording that you love your book, because that energy is how it's going to not only get us going with this book, but then make us wonder when you're coming out with another one.
I think with that, what would I add to that? You don't need the $200 microphone. It's not a bad investment.
No, not at all.
Because there is. If you want to just do, like I'm doing right here with this one, I'm just doing a simple through the MacBook. Where if you were here, we'd be microphones here, microphone there, microphone everywhere. But this is going to be used in different contexts than an audiobook. You need to make sure the sound is good. If the sound is horrible, or you got Parker, in my case, running above me, or running up and down stairs, it's inevitable. Every podcast, the one podcast we did with Jonathan Torres, I had chickens in the background just chirping away. I'm editing, and I was like, what is that noise? I said, the furnace, that wasn't even on. It's like, oh, that's when we still had chickens in the basement. But like to make sure that it's, what I was going to add to that was, you don't have to do it if you're doing an audiobook. You don't have to do the whole thing in one take. You can,
right.
And I wouldn't not only not encourage not doing it in one take, but if you wanted to make a good one, the same way if you were going to do a manuscript, write your draft, or read your draft, read it again, read it 3rd time, and keep recording all these times, and take what you like from chapter 1, from 1, 2, 3 recordings, and then use that information and make a great 4th or 5th, however many drafts. Because like you said, it's overwhelming to people. They think that you have to do it all in one sitting perfectly.
Correct.
It's not how professional ones get done. It's 100 takes in a studio. It could take them a week, Yeah.
My goal was to perfect, and I hate using that word. Ed Milet, I'm not sure if you ever heard of him, but he's one of those people, those motivational people on YouTube. And one of the things that he said that I always say is, perfection is the lowest possible standard. We do not strive for perfection. We strive for our best. But when I recorded my audiobook, I focused on one chapter at a time until I loved that chapter. And then I moved on to the next. So yes, that's a very good point. Please don't think if you have 10 chapters, you got to get 5 done today and the other 5 done tomorrow. It's definitely not necessary. And we, the listener, will be able to hear that you just wanted to get this done rather than actually taking your time to really, really make sure you engaged us as your new reader.
What would you say off of the people that you've personally worked with? What percentage have taken that written book and gone into an audiobook?
That's a great question. Now with Rec, it's about to be all of them. So before, some of them were talking about it, but they never actually pushed to doing it. But then I let them know, hey, listen, like, no one's going to tell, just like you said, no one's going to tell your story better than you. You have got to read your book, and I'm going to help you do it. So it's about to be 100%. Yeah.
What about 105 have we not covered in this little insight on 105?
You know, Rec is definitely the newest thing that we're working on. Nothing that I can think off the top of my head right now. Rec would have been the newest.
And you mentioned you got some book shows in December. Any other
Yes.
events you guys are going to anytime soon?
Yeah, so we are looking at potentially another event north of Dallas. There was actually supposed to be an event in Atlanta, but it in October. However, it was canceled due to, I guess, a rise in COVID numbers. I don't really watch the news, so I'm not sure how bad COVID is these days. But so the next one will be Dallas in December. And then next year, it'll be a whole new group of cities. We're looking at Los Angeles as a possibility. We're looking at New York, looking at Chicago again. Love going to Chicago for book festivals. And we had a very, very good one in Philadelphia. This was new for that particular part of Philadelphia, and that was a very successful book festival. So I see us being there again next year as well.
I believe your number one insight for people with book shows is to bring candy, but what other pieces of advice would you give to an author, publisher, or anybody in the book business about having a successful show?
So in order, 1, your books, right? 1, your books, 2, a smile, and everything else comes after that. So you have candy, you have pamphlets. This one lady, her book was about trauma, and so she had pamphlets on what you should do in stressful situations, like advice on how you can control whatever may have triggered you emotionally, how to get yourself under control in that situation. Anything that relates to your book, you want to have on the table so that they can have a takeaway to bring with them. And whatever that takeaway is, make sure that the website or a QR code to your book on Amazon or whatever platform is on there so that they can, say, okay, this was actually great and I want to read more about it. So those are the main things. I would definitely say invest in a retractable banner. I love retractable banners. As a matter of fact, my most successful personally, this was before 105, my most successful book signing was in Pittsburgh. You and I talked about Pittsburgh Cleveland thing. Pittsburgh was okay. Pittsburgh was okay.
Dirty.
But in Pittsburgh was the fact that the title of my first book is I Used to Be Racist. I literally had people say, all I saw was the word racist on your banner, and I just walked over. Like, I didn't even see what the hell the words were. And then I see you, and it's like, whoa, we have got to talk. So I am pro retractable banners. If you don't want to put your book on there, you can put a headshot of yourself along with your website or you holding your book or something like that. Retractable banners is how people meet you from afar before they meet you up close. So that is those would be the main things I'd say focus on for live events.
and live events kind of, like you said, kind of shut down right now still, at least by here, but hopefully they'll be coming back soon and people can get back out there. What we didn't talk about is you have a podcast coming out.
Yes.
Hopefully you're releasing this soon. You said you've got a couple episodes in the bank.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about what to expect from the 105 podcast.
Yes. So for our podcast, we're calling it the 105 Way Podcast. And so we are going to be talking about numerous things publishing related, as well as having authors come on the show. We're going to start with our own authors initially, in our own 105 family. So I'm even going to have you on there as far as any type of marketing tips and things like that. And then I want to venture out to other general topics, having things like even topics that would be beneficial for authors in general, right? So like one of the things that I really step in on is online bullying. Sometimes I'll see somebody put their book out and you'll have this troll attack them, and like I'm always defending those people. So we're even going to do an episode on like online bullying, which has nothing to do with publishing, but I'm going to talk about where it came from, how to look out for those type of profiles, and even the people who I've spoken to where and I'm hearing this story too often. Someone has given somebody $100, $300, $500 to start their illustrations, and then they never hear from the person again. And there's always a sign, and I'm sure you've seen this. If you ever go to some of these people's profiles, even if they say James from Indianapolis, Indiana, there's always something about their profile that screams catfish. So I want to touch on that too, how my biggest thing is if you're going to do business with somebody online, you need to at least see them / hear them before you pull the trigger and decide I'm going to work with these people. So we'll talk about topics like that on the show. And I'm just looking forward to putting it out. It's going to be every Wednesday. I haven't picked the time yet. I'm thinking every Wednesday about 7:00, right in the middle of the week. But of course, that's up in the air as well as far as what the exact date is going to be. Or time of the week, I should say. We're thinking Wednesday right now, but we're thinking about getting it started in October. So I'd like to record 2 more episodes to make it a total of 5, and get it started.
Let's put it in the air. What's the first October Wednesday?
First October Wednesday. Oh yeah, I'm looking for my phone.
We know better than to tell you to do the technology part. I'm pulling up the calendar. We've learned our lesson with that plenty of times before. All right, first Wednesday. Let's put it into the air. October 6th, you release your first podcast. That's the first Wednesday in October.
First podcast, October 6th.
You heard it here first on Colin's Conversations, where we make people do things that are uncomfortable for their marketing. Any questions for me before we get off? I think we covered just about everything you got going. Any marketing things you need from me real quick?
Let's see. Let me think. So the referrals have been a blessing. Literally, I remember when you started the website, I was like, diving in groups for potential authors and trying to find people. And now it's literally been the relatives, friends. And this is interesting. Had someone who just Googled publishing companies and somehow we just came up. I'm just like, this is fascinating. How the heck? So now it's like getting away from Facebook.
The Google things, that would be your website and your marketing. Good old SEO.
Yeah, so it's slowly coming, and I definitely have to. It's at a pace that we can handle right now.
Right.
I think that if I were to put into the universe that I want 200 people to say make my book now, I know we're not ready for that at this current moment. That's a bit too many. I'd have to hire quite a bit of people. But right now it's. Do you agree with that as far as the main strategy that has been working, the referrals?
I think the real question, you kind of answer your own question, is say, I don't know, you could handle what, 5 new books a week? Is that relative? Is that too many?
A week. That would be 20. So like right now we're working on about uh 18 books right now that are not out yet. So that is manageable. But the moment we get to 50, I'm gonna be kind of like scratching my head, like, ooh, I don't have that many editors. I'm gonna have to read like 10 manuscripts.
The reason I'm trying to put a number on it is you want to do a balance of both. You want to go put the word out, like you were saying, with either Facebook groups, or I don't think you do too much with ads. I know we've talked about it in the past, but every very, very once in a while, I'll see a sponsored 105 something. I would start, I know I gave you that packet, and you've looked like you've got a couple other similar things of testimonials. I would put a couple dollars behind each time you post a testimonial.
Okay.
Because again, you're getting, what are you getting? On, at least let's just use your Instagram, you're averaging 10 to 20 likes per post. Then I go to Colin's Conversations, and on these, without anything sponsored, I'm getting 20 to 30, sometimes as low as 7. So similar things to your organic numbers, but then when I put, what's the last ad I ran? That would have been Chantel Canzani. I always say her last name wrong. Kazadi, $4 got from 38 views to 2,237 views.
Okay.
The one below that, on average, and I'll put this on the screen, we're scrolling through the Colin's Conversations. The one below that, again, $4 to $5, 2,000 views, 1,780 views, 15. So for $4 to $5, I'm getting 2,000 views instead of 30. Why is that?
So how? Yeah.
So you target, when you're running an ad like that, you target authors, self-publishing, Amazon KDP, these different words that would relate to anybody that would be a potential client of yours. So you put a testimonial of, it was fantastic working with 105 Publishing. The experience was, met my expectations, and then some. Ideally, too, start getting people to record their own voice with the testimonial, even if you got to give some sort of incentive to get them to take that 10 seconds to do a voice note. Because while text is one thing, put text in animation is another, to have the actual person, whether it's a video or just audio, to have that author holding the physical copy of that book in hand, talking about what you guys did for them. I see that the same way that you said, if you're going to give somebody money online, you should at least see them from time to time. You should at least see that there's somebody that is real behind this. So if you see an advertising campaign of, what did I say, $5 a day is $150 a month times that's 60 to 70,000 people, 60 to 70,000 views at $150 a month. Somebody in that group is going to be interested to look more. So you have that, and then you have your funnel. So once your podcast starts, you're using that as a lead generator, the same way I use this as a lead generator. You put up, blah, 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 blah. They start listening. They're like, oh, marketing, oh, editing. These guys have it all. I didn't even know that they did cover design. Let me see if I can get my cover redesigned. So like you find the people, as long as you have enough content, which you've kind of started in the last year, really build up that database, both off of new books that you could promote, stuff that I've made for you, stuff you make for yourself. Find what works at $1 to $5. And if, say, post 1, 3, and 7, get 2,000 views, and post 2, whatever the middle numbers are there, get half of that or double that, that one's doing something. So run that one again, run more money at that one, or run the same amount for a month. Because think about that. If you have a good post that then has a good caption, a call to action, and when you throw money behind it, you have the ability to put that little sticker at the bottom, learn more, and if you click that, it goes right to your website, any page of your website that you want. We've already said that website has gotten you quite a bit of business from people that look at it and they're like, wow, these guys are professional. This is a good look. Or the one you said, somebody said it looked like the Gucci site. That's cool. Guess we're just selling handbags.
I don't know why they said Gucci. They just thought it was. What were the exact words? Your website looks a bit too flashy, kind of like you're trying to be like Gucci or something. I'm like, okay.
Sorry, we did too good. But the whole idea there is if $1 a day for 5 days gets 2,000 views, doing that same thing every day for a month and kind of tweaking it every 4 or 5 days, you're going to generate a lot more stuff coming in, and you either have time or you have money. So you're either going to go through these Facebook groups, which while you were talking, I was going, those are the worst fucking groups. Nobody knows how to sell anything. Nobody even knows how to write a caption. And they're writers.
Goodness.
I can't do it.
The hardest thing to see. It is.
Like, and you know my personality. When I see something that's trash, it's hard for me not to be like, "What are you doing? Let me help you." And you can't help them. But if instead of spending 3 hours fucking around through all these groups, spend $3, $4, $5 a day, whatever, what do you value 15 minutes of your time at? Put that same ad budget instead of going looking for the groups, and just instead of pinpointing these things, just keep going through keywords of, KDP, all these things that are related to it. Find which ones of these are working, and shit will keep coming in. That was a really long way to answer your question, but I think that makes sense to you.
So what I'm gonna do is I am going to, because even with what you're doing that math for the monthly, I mean, just the one author, I can't remember who that was. We got one author from ads that we haven't done a lot of ads, like you said. We've done one author, and just that one author made up for the whole, for the whole ad. So we mess around and get 5 authors out of the 2,000. I mean, well, we're like really doing well.
Another way to do this is, the classic I struggle as your guy to advise you on this. It's just something to bring for discussion, is put together some sort of template, some PDF, the top 10 things to do as an author, some sort of value book or audiobook or file that you do a good animation for. You run an ad, download this book, takes you to a form, you got to give your email address, it sends you the thing. We all hate those, but I sign up for fucking 10 of those a week probably, because I'm looking at it like all I got to do is give you my address. I'll wait to the first time you send me something, I'll hit unsubscribe, but I get to see what other people are creating to do my own research and get my own brains going on different marketing or advertising, whatever.
Yeah.
But you put together your own thing like that, you run that same ad campaign that I was just telling you about, the same, couple dollars here, switch it up. But then you're getting email addresses, which then take you to them to your website. You get to retain their information. You put that into some sort of CRM. I'm sure you guys got to have some way to keep track of customers and leads and things like that. So you then say if you put $100 down, even if you only got 10 email addresses, you gave away something for free. It took you a little bit of time to paste together some things, or have me put something together for you, but they're getting something. You get their information every 3, 4, 5 weeks. You send them an email of, hey, new 105 book, new this, new that. So then eventually over time, they're going to see that you're doing things, and then run it that way. But kind of a mix between your testimonials, a new book. I would work something into the pricing of, since it's all about you helping, I don't think you'd lose too much money this way. You'll match, say Professor Ping. We'll use that as an example, just because I actually read that book, one of the few 105 books that I've got the chance to read. But so say you have Professor Ping. I think it just came out, is just coming out. You have that book, and you make a deal to the author. 105 will match up to $100 in ad bonus. They send you $100.
Oh,
You put together a $200 ad campaign that ties them, that's advertising both you and them at the same time. So that
yeah,
way, you, instead of $5 a day, you could go $10 a day, or $1 ads, 10 different ones. So you could change that up in
yeah.
a bunch of ways, but that's just kind of backing the same way if you were an employer, they match a 401k up to X amount per year or per paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
The same idea of
Mm-hmm.
we're in this together. We want you to grow. We want us to grow. So,
Right.
if 100 is too much, we'll match up to 50, 10, 20, whatever the number is. But if it's something that way, if they want to get a little bit more out there, you want to get more out there, let's put our budgets together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's actually a good idea, because I can even incorporate that cost in there from the beginning,
Exactly.
so where it looks like yeah, that makes complete sense.
It's not even a look like, it's just a way to work it in there of not being a hassle. It's already taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
If it was
Mm-hmm.
1,900, it's even $2,000, and it comes with a $100 bonus of us matching whatever.
Yeah, yeah. And would, as far as the ad is concerned, what if we even then worked it out to, like, worked you in there,
Of
where it
course, we
was
work me in
like,
there.
yeah,
I was just listening to the Dave Hill podcast, and he had Chili from TLC on, and like every 15 minutes, he's a comedian and a really good guitar player, and like every 15
yeah,
minutes, he's like, "Oh yeah," and then we'll go on tour, and I'll play backup or blah blah blah. Like he kept working himself into the next TLC tour. I was
yeah.
like, "Oh, that's a great idea." But yeah, I mean, whether you work me into it or we just get you a system of running it for it, it does get a little bit more complicated. It'd be more complicated to run ads for individual authors like on their page, because that's a pain in the ass. Like undoubtedly one of the most annoying parts of what I do. But for you as 105 to have your own ad account, which you already do,
Oh, okay, I
and then
see.
you're
Yeah.
posting the content of them, so that way it's not getting permissions, you're not intermingling credit cards and things
Mm,
like that. You're running the ad from your account, which then gets you the recognition. They see the logo all the time, but it's different authors.
I see. I see.
So that way, like you
Mm,
said, you kind of work that whatever that number is to the publishing point, or just as an individual service. If you've published with us at any time that you want to run something, we'll match it and figure out whatever the right numbers are for you. But that way it's coming from you. It's coming on your thing. So you take their $25 that they put in, you put that on your credit card, and that's attached to your Facebook ads. And then you run a $50 campaign if you're matching it.
yeah. Okay. Okay. And I do want to get into running ads. So Byron, he had a this is the guy who I was telling you about, who had previous experience working for Nike's marketing. I'm not sure if you remember me telling you about that a little while
Yeah,
back.
kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I didn't really like the prick from the beginning, so it kind of carried over, because I told him, I said, I get you have your guy, but I have my guy. We'll give your guy an opportunity, but something tells me I don't like him now, and I'm not going to like him in the end. And so one thing that you could help me with is getting him off as a how I had you on my author site. You were an admin.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's the first step, and the second step, how my next question was, how do we? Because I didn't realize it was going to be this easy to obtain phone numbers and emails. I know it sounds kind of sinister. I hope it doesn't sound, but like we actually have a decent, I don't know what you call it, but we have a decent sheet of contacts. So like, I know when I see emails, I kind of get irritated. Are there people who actually are like, oh, well, this is interesting, I'm gonna open this up?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I'm trying to get a price number for you real quick. Where in early 2000s, late 90s, email rates were like 90% open. They were great. I don't really do much with email at the moment.
Okay.
For that reason, a lot of people don't fuck with it. But
Yeah.
the difference there is if you put the right headline and you're not spamming people. That's why nobody really opens those, is you're like, what are you trying to sell me now? But if you're just kind of showing off what it is that you do, go for it. I can't find a number, but the main answer to that question is you need one of the new texting apps, like Community is the biggest one.
Gary V is into texting. He's the first. I'm not sure if you even know who Gary V is.
Yeah,
but
I'm a marketer that says fuck a lot. Of course, I know who Gary V is.
I was gonna get it. You seem like the type person who would know who Gary V is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm a big fan, but it doesn't have to be Community. I mean, there's a lot of other ones, and I believe it's not expensive, but not cheap. You could also do this by yourself with a little bit more legwork. All Community does is it's a way to, like a celebrity of business, to have a line that people could text, they could text out. The nice thing about stuff like that is you could segment audiences. So if you're going to be in Philadelphia, you could only text the people in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, things like that. But you can also, through your own phone, you have a business phone number, you can use that business line and set up group messages the same way that people have, like, mom, sister, aunt all on a list. You could have as many lists as you want and then just run it through your own phone. If you don't want to pay for all the community things, why you pay for them is all the analytics and the ability to, through your computer, segment groups and things like that. But why not the number that you have for 105? Text me, get directly to the owner. You know what I mean? Like, you're not a big celebrity right now. Hopefully you are one day, and it's, hiring 1,000 people, and I got to hire people just to handle your account. We'll get there one day.
There you go.
But until then, do that same thing. Instead of email, hey, put your phone number, put your email, and then the same way on your sites that we do now, how would you like to be contacted? Would you like to be contacted? No, you just want the free book? That's fine. Do you want us to talk and give you a free consultation? Let us know how. Text right away. So, like, email might not open. It's like a 90+%. The only reason why it's so high on your phone is if I don't open the text that you send, I got a fucking thing that says 1 forever until I open it. So they're going to at least clear it, But that's something to think of too, is, again, it's super easy to get a phone number or an email if you give a good graphic that says, get, this advice, or get this opportunity, chance to win a whole bunch of kids' books, or you could run that whatever way you want. But take that, run an ad based off of the people you think would be obtainable as clients, and you have their information and use it however you want.
Okay. I think the and
when you have your podcast too, that'd be a great time to introduce that. Of a lot of ones I've been listening to lately, the big podcast theme is at the end. They have a special message for people at the end. Like, I really like the Steve-O podcast, Wild Ride. Great podcast. Who would have thought Steve-O is one of the best podcasters out there? But at the end, he says, like, thank you for making it to the end. Screenshot this, do this. But that's where you're like, hey, did you like anything? Do you have questions? Text us right now. And they're like, oh shit, all right. Because nobody wants to send an email or talk to you. But I'll send you a text. Great show. Or you want to know more about this.
Right.
So work that into the podcast thing, and kind of get a system in place to handle information and store it so that you know how to properly access it. But too, with you've now upgraded to Mac, so you could go through your Mac and do texting through here, which might make copy and pasting and things like that easier for a more bulk message.
Patricia has been making a lot of those visuals that you've been thumbs up, and that I mean, you had to have known I wasn't creating that.
It's easy to do. She's probably using Canva, it looks like.
Yes. Yeah. She I don't think she ever really used Canva like that before 105, but Canva's fantastic. Canva even has a feature like Later. Found that out.
I don't like it as much. I started using Later again for their free account.
Me too. Yeah.
Because you can't beat it. There's no better option for the Instagram bio than Later. They've got way too expensive for all the plans I used to carry, but I'll still use the free one. Just use 8 different email addresses instead of 1. What do you got to do?
There you go. Yeah.
I got time for one more question. You got any more?
Nothing I can think of right away, but I'll let you know.
Absolutely. So let's end the interview. Let everybody know where to find you online and all those fun things.
So you can find us at 105publishing.com. If you go to the very, very bottom, there will be not only an address, but a phone number as well. We serve the Austin area. And if you actually text 201-416-5004, you will get to myself directly. If not me, then Patricia or another representative of 105, and we will get to you right away. And we'll schedule your free consultation when you're ready.
I've never seen advice be adapted that quickly. Congratulations. We just put that as a thing that you should start doing. You're like, I got this.